Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Mentor Nation podcast. Thank you for being with me today. If you're watching this live, this is my birthday month. And so I want to give a shout out to all of the Virgos out there. If this is your first time here, I want to welcome you. Thank you so much for tuning in. And today's show is not going to disappoint. I have a fantastic guest. You're absolutely going to love it. If you could hit that subscribe button so that you get a notification every time I release a new episode, which is approximately every single week. Now, today is a very special interview with someone that I just have a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for him. I cold reached out to him. I've been following him for years. I've been using his platform for a very long time, got so much value out of it. And I just am so grateful that he responded and we set up an interview, and you're going to hear that today. Richard Botto is the founder and CEO of a company called Stage 32. Now, many of you might not know what that is, but I promise you, if you are in the entertainment industry and it's an actor, a writer, a producer, or any other role just in that industry, then you will absolutely know this company. Stage 32 is the world's largest online platform connecting and educating film, TV, and digital creatives with executives worldwide. There's almost 1 million users on the platform globally. They've helped thousands of up-and-coming creatives network and break into the film and television industry. This platform, guys, it does a lot of good, and so does the man that built it. But the thing that really fascinated me is that Richard built this company from scratch, and he did it having really no contacts in Hollywood, no connections, but it was his ability to network and build quality relationships that with influential people that was key to his success. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. Regardless of what you do, what business you're in, what your career path is, your relationships are one of the key indicators to the success that you're going to have. And Richard shares some incredible wisdom on just how he does it and how you can as well. This is a wonderful interview, and I'm just so excited for you to listen. Enjoy. Richard, thank you so much for being on the podcast, man.
Thank you.
I've been really looking forward to this interview for a long time, and I'm excited to share your wisdom with the audience today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and I love listen to the podcast, love it, and I love the anytime that we can help people by teaching them and maybe even talking about some of our mistakes and the things we've learned along the way to help them shorten their path to success. I'm all about it, so I'm very happy to be here.
Absolutely. Well, I'm excited. And for those listening, we're going to cover this in the intro, but, Richard is the founder of Stage 32, which is the largest online platform connecting and educating just film, TV, digital creatives with executives worldwide. And Richard's a master at networking and building community. And so I can't wait to extract that. True story, Richard. I've been on your platform for years. I'm great at business, but I've always had a passion for just film and writing. And I was on Stage 32 a few years ago, actually, and I met a writer from New York. And I asked her for some advice, and she helped me in a really, really big way. And I swear it was like at that moment, I didn't have a podcast back then, but it was at that moment that I was like, man, like, who made this platform? This guy's a fucking genius. Like this. So, and here we are. I'm talking to the Stage 32 founders. So if it's okay with you, I would really like to focus this interview on a few things.
Sure.
One, how you built Stage 32. Two is just how you grew it to become the largest of its kind, despite being in an industry with brutal competition and like a lot of cutthroat personalities. Three is the one that I'm most interested in, is how you built a thriving community of tens of thousands of people or even more globally. And then finally, just some of the lessons you learned along the way. But I want to start with just a little bit more about your story, how you became an entrepreneur, and just kind of what led to Stage 32 in the first place.
Sure. Yeah. And please call me RB. My friends call me RB.
All
Everybody,
right.
Richard Botto is my name. It's funny. I grew up in Brooklyn and Staten Island, so I was Rich or Richie. The only people that called me Richard was like my mother when she was pissed off at me. But somehow or another that stuck professionally. But along the way, people, when I was young, people, a friend of mine who was a cop actually gave me the nickname RB because he actually said when I was a kid, he goes, this kid's going to run companies one day. He needs initials, and that's where RB came from, and it stuck. And all my friends call me that. So
I
please call
love
me
it.
RB. And if you
Will
meet
do.
me online, if you're watching this and you meet me online, please call me RB.
Got it.
Yeah, the entrepreneurial story, really, I think in a way begins. It really, in a way, begins with my paternal grandfather. In a way, he was a first generation Italian who came over, and he worked with his hands. He was an electrician. He was a carpenter, and did a lot of side work, and made money that way. He was a hustler, and I saw that at a young age. He had that work ethic that you might imagine that an immigrant coming to this country would
Yep.
have. You know what I mean? Like that you got to fight for every dollar and take care of your family. So that was ingrained in me from a very young age. My father worked for a pharmaceutical advertising company. And then he decided after about 15 years of doing that, 10 years of doing that, to branch out on his own with about
Mhm.
3 other people that he knew and start his own advertising company. And they were the scrappy upstarts against the big guys. And they, would win some huge accounts.
Yep.
I remember him winning the big Johnson & Johnson account when I was a kid. So the entrepreneurial spirit has always been ingrained in me. I've always been sort of an independent thinker. I love business, even from a young age. I loved film and the
Mm.
creative side of film, but I loved the business end. I was the type of guy that wanted to know how much a movie costs and who got paid what and what's
Yep.
the economics behind it. So, I mean, that's the beginnings of the journey. When I went to school more or less to pharmacy school because, again, I grew up in that environment, but
Yep.
quickly didn't want to be in that. I wanted to be in the arts, and quickly had some teachers that suggested very bluntly that I get the hell out of pharmacy school. In fact, one of them said, and I quote, "Tell your father you'll buy him a fucking pharmacy, but you need to be writing and creating." And that changed the path of my life. You need people in your life that do that for you. And he did that for me. And, I got involved with technology almost by accident. Knew some people that were getting into a lot of e-commerce stuff early, and helped build some early billing companies. People that were
Mm.
doing, when e-com, to help people charge their cards online before there was a
Yep.
PayPal, before there was anything. And so I got to learn a lot about technology early. And then I went and started a magazine called Razor, which was a men's lifestyle magazine that competed against like GQ and Esquire. Was national. We routinely outsold GQ and Esquire for a long period of time. And so I
Wow.
got to learn a hell of a lot of business trial by fire then, but I also got to learn a lot about the business and the creative side. So it was this beautiful mesh between entertainment and technology. All of that combined, all those experiences combined, led to sort of the embryonic idea for Stage 32. And then, eventually convincing myself, which took a couple of years to launch it, convincing myself to do it, I should say, to launch it.
Gotcha. Now, are you technical like by trade, or are you more on the business side of it and just kind of understand the technical side of things?
I can't code anything, but
Okay.
I understand a lot of code. Um, you know, the beauty of working in technology, if you're really interested in it. I mean, there's certainly CEOs that I know that have absolutely no interest in it whatsoever. I like to have an interest in it because I like to understand my developers. And when I say, let's build this, the complexities that
Yeah.
go into it. So it's funny you mentioned to ask that question because I literally just got off a call with my developers, my development team. And, it was one of those conversations. We're building out a whole bunch of different things and we're redeveloping
Yep.
a bunch of different things. And it's sort of like, what if, and I know enough with the what ifs, like I know enough to be dangerous. It's almost like, I know it's like going to a foreign land and saying like, I understand the language. I don't understand everything you're saying, but I understand, I can get around,
Gotcha. Yeah. I asked because like, wow, like I'm the business side of things and we're building a tech startup. And I mean, the mistakes that we made the things that we'd never even thought of, and having developers overseas where a lot of the good ones are, Ukraine. It's just, I was just curious. So you had the idea for Stage. Was there a specific problem that you had that led to like, okay, I need to build this platform?
Great question. Yeah, I mean, a lot of tech, a lot of people that go into tech, they'll tell you that they identified a need and filled it, and wanted to solve a problem. It was sort of for me, it was sort of, and I think it's one of the reasons why it's worked so well. It was sort of a double-sided thing for me. I saw the need, excuse me, I saw the need, but I also needed it to help me with my creative career. So the need in my eyes was, there are broad-based social media platforms. And at the time, the big ones, Facebook was maybe in year 3 or 4.
Yep.
Twitter was just launching. And, they were great for bringing people together, but were they great for business? And really, was LinkedIn great for the entertainment business? Absolutely not. Still isn't, in my opinion, not on the creative side.
Right.
So what I knew about entertainment, and I left this part out, but I had actually done some theater acting in New York. So I certainly understood the tribal nature of that. It's a very close-knit community, theater in New York. And you're own, in a lot of ways, you're as good as your talent takes you so far, your contacts take you over the bar, right? So I knew that there was a need for a niche social media platform for just people in film, television, and digital content. And I found that when I talked to people in the business and I asked them if they were getting anything out of Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter, they would say, I have a lot of contacts, but no business. Like the contacts I have in the business are sharing pictures of their kids. It doesn't get us anywhere. It's nice and everything like that.
Right. Peek
into their lives, but we're not getting anywhere. So I knew if I wanted to succeed as an actor, writer, producer, which I do now, and really wanted to build up my contact list, I needed to have a platform where I can make those contacts. So I felt like if it would work for me, it would work for everyone. And that's why when you sign up for Stage 32 to this day, you get that message that I am just like you. I'm not in the ivory tower, and we're all in this together, and we're going to build it together because this is about community. And it resonates with people because it's like, again, really in this, look, every business is tribal to an extent, but there's none more tribal than entertainment. And, there's a lot of money on the line. There's a lot of time on the line. People want to work with, the same people over and over if they can, because it shortens the path. Right. So contacts matter. They matter. Right. Everybody thinks talent matters. Talent matters, but talent in a vacuum is talent in a vacuum.
That's right. Absolutely. So I have to ask you this because I think a lot of the listeners here are entrepreneurial and they probably don't know Stage 32 and aren't familiar with it. And I would love to have you, because I don't think a lot of people realize the scope of how big it is. And I've watched it grow and grow and grow and grow. And now the community is so massive. Can you just share a few stats about like how big is Stage 32 now? Like how long has it been around, and just a little more so that people can really grasp the size of what you've built? Sure.
We're about to celebrate our 10th year anniversary, which is, makes me want to celebrate and shoot myself in the head all at the same time. We started with, literally, I invited 100 of my friends that I knew in the business to join the platform. We are now 800,000, well over 800,000 now, probably closer to 900,000 strong. Worldwide, we're in every country in the world except I think for North Korea, which we're working on. We're going to solve that problem too. So we have well over 800,000 people. We work with about 4,000 executives in the business. We have the world's largest, by far, it's not even close, the world's largest educational library of film, television, and digital content. For every craft and every part of the business you can imagine, being taught by over 4,000 executives that we work with directly. They're doing it right now. So you're getting the most timely, accurate, and actionable information you could get. So imagine going to film school, you go to USC, you're going to, 80 grand a year, whatever the hell it is.
That's
you
right.
can get that same education and much more, because you'll actually learn about the business as well for 1/100th of the price in a way.
Absolutely.
On Stage 32.
Yeah, I've taken several of them, the master classes, and they're so good, and they're like $39. Like it's just so reasonable.
We keep it, that was the goal. The 3 goals with Stage 32 from the beginning. number one, of course, was the community. And what we call this internally is sort of the three divisions of Stage 32. One is the community, which is the social media aspect of the platform, which is completely free and has all these resources. And obviously you can connect with anybody you want. And that's the part that is well over 800,000 strong. Education, which we wanted to make sure that we offered affordable education taught by world-class people doing it right now, the best of the best, and to make it extremely affordable. And now we have those 1,500 hours. And the third part is the marketplace. And the marketplace is where we connect content creator with content producer, financier, decision maker, manager, agent, and get you beyond the gatekeepers. So the whole idea behind the marketplace is that you're able to come into Stage 32 with your content. You pick the executive you want to get in front of from our roster of executives that we work with, and you get direct access to them. And that, of course, has led to, just hundreds, if not thousands of projects being created over the last 10 years, financed and so on and so forth. So it's been a wildly successful ride. We have partners like Netflix and, Cannes and the American film market and dozens of film commissions and festivals and all that. So they count on us to bring them education, and they count on us to help deliver vetted content from our creators in the platform to them to help shorten their path so they're not weeding through a bunch of crap.
Super cool. So to get into the meat part of this, because it's so cool. 10 years, almost 1 million users in a very difficult industry. And so I want to get into the lessons here. My first question for you is, like, when you launched this thing, obviously you weren't directly in the middle of it. Like right when you launched it, you were kind of like on the edge of it. Like, did you have a lot of like haters and skepticism? Like, were there a lot of people telling you like, what are you doing? This shit's not going to work. Did you get that in the early?
Yeah. Well, we didn't get really, I didn't get haters. My message to the first 100 people that I referenced, I sent them in an email, and I basically said, I did it backwards. I don't recommend doing it this way, by the way, if you're listening and you're an entrepreneur. You might, I didn't focus group anything. I didn't do any of that stuff. I didn't tell people what I was up to. And there was a reason why I didn't. Again, Facebook and Twitter were just starting to blow up. So everybody was obsessed with it, right? And everybody just thought the broad-based social media platforms, this is where I need to be. So I knew the kickback was going to be, why do I need another place to be? But if I learned one thing in technology, it's that if something hits broadly, it usually filters down and it's successful. There will be only so many competitors on the broad level. So, you think Instagram now, and you think, Pinterest for a little while, Snapchat, TikTok now, but it will filter down to the niche level. Right. So I wanted to be ahead of the curve and create the niche platform. So what I said is, I'm going to build the first iteration of this, put my money where my mouth is. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to these 100 people. And the first thing I'm going to say to them is, you're going to try this, and you can't, first of all, you can't say no to me. So I went to 100 people that wouldn't say no to me. And the second thing was, I said, you can tell me why you don't like it, but you can give me 3 reasons why, but one of them cannot be, I don't want another social platform, or I'm on Facebook. So what I did by doing that, what I did was I wanted them to see the value of having a like-minded community of just people that they would be doing business with, and make them understand that when they were going to pick up their phone and go into their app to go on Facebook, they likely were going to be doing it because they were at a sporting event or at the park, or here's a picture of my kid, or here's a picture of my dog, here's a picture of my salad, that kind of thing. But when you're on this platform, you're going to be like, this is the project I'm launching. This is my reel. This is my screenplay. So once they understood the concept of it, they believed they got it. And they were like, okay, I totally get where you're going now. Then when I also told them about the grand visions for education in the marketplace, they really got it. The skepticism came in from the fact that this industry, the entertainment industry by and large, is the most archaic, the most backwards thinking, stuck in their way business that you could find anywhere in the world. It has changed dramatically over the last 3 years. And certainly the pandemic has accelerated it, probably 3 to 4 years where it would have been without the pandemic, with this day and date and everything that Disney Plus and Paramount are doing. It's a wildly different environment than it was, let's say, 24 to 48 months ago. I thought that would happen around 2015. It happened a little bit later. But so at the beginning, there was this skepticism as to, you're not going to change people. Like, you've changed my mind, but you're not going to change the masses' minds. You know what I mean? You're not going to be able to change the old guard minds. We certainly have done that. And what's really, really cool is that the new guards, like Netflix, who think outside the box and who want to be disruptors and who want to disrupt this old studio system and so on and so forth, and the way content is created and consumed, they're the ones that came to us first to partner with us outside, from the really, really big name, because they got it, and now everybody else is banging down the door saying, oh, we want a piece of that. We want a piece of that. You know what I mean? So the skepticism just came from not so much that they didn't believe in me.
Yeah.
But they didn't believe that other people would be accepting of me, which I also got. I was sort of an outsider. I was just coming into the business. I didn't have an established name. My first movie I produced went to Sundance. I was lucky. Okay. But that didn't mean, really, at the end of the day, I was just another producer with a film at Sundance. Like, it seems so, prestigious, and it is. I'm not minimizing it, but to the head of Lionsgate, or what, it's like, okay, and how does that translate to this platform you're building? So of course there was definitely some punching to do. You know what I mean?
Got it.
We took it was like one of those things where if you look at your entrepreneurial journey as a title fight, and that your opponent is the big bad, the big puncher, the heavy puncher, and you're the guy that has the stamina. Well, you just sit there as you find a way to absorb all those punches and try to duck and move for a little bit. And by the middle rounds, that guy is going to get tired out, and you're going to be able to. That's kind of what it felt like. We knew at the beginning that we were going to be in the corner absorbing the fucking heat. Yep. But we knew that, and that's where we're at now. Now we're the ones doing the punching, which is fantastic.
That's awesome. My final question on stage 32 is, when did you know that everything you thought was on the right track? Like, was it year 1, 2, 3? Like, when did it actually hit a hockey stick trajectory? And you knew I was right on.
We had a few. We had a few success stories very, very early that were global, people connecting on a global level to create projects. And we went, okay, this idea that we have that the world's going to get smaller and that you don't physically need to be in the same place to do post-production or things like that, or even to make a deal, you have co-country productions and things like that are now on the rise. We saw around the curve on that. So when we started seeing those things happen, we felt really good. The second thing, certainly the second milestone, was when we launched education and we saw the response to it. People were so excited. They were so hungry. And if you didn't live in an area where education was readily available to you, and let's face it, if you don't live in LA, New York, or London, and a couple of other places, you really don't have access to in-person education, or even, there's not a lot of companies doing it, and certainly not as broadly as we are. So when we saw the response to that really put wind in our sails. And then when we started forging relationships with like Cannes and AFM, the two biggest film markets in the world, when they came to us and said, we want you involved because we want your education and we want your community. And, we don't want to have to build out all this. So we can't. You guys have it, and we can bring you value and you can bring us value. Once that started happening, then we really, really knew that, we were on the other side of the mountain.
I love that. So I want to pivot a little bit, because I've watched several of your interviews, and then one of the things that is a common theme that you teach, whether it's students or whether you're being interviewed on a podcast, is the importance of networking and building really quality relationships. And so I wanted to ask, what's your strategy or routine for doing that? Like, for anybody listening that, you being someone who networked your way to the top and built relationships with some of the most powerful people in the world in your area, like what's your routine for networking? Do you focus on it? Is it something that's natural? Like what's your strategy?
Well, it's a shift in mindset is really what it is. It was a shift in mindset that, first of all, no relationship's a bad relationship. The idea that networking, the shift in mindset is that networking is part of my job. Okay. Networking is part of my job. So you ask, is it something I do regularly? Yes. I dedicate a half hour to an hour every single day for networking, and I'm busy as hell, and I still find ways to do it. And if I miss days, I make them up on the weekends. I don't give myself excuses. Okay. So how do I network? What's networking to me? Well, in this example, using the Stage 32 platform, it's looking at who joined the site, looking at who's posting what. If they're posting some really cool stuff, they seem really interesting, reaching out to them, asking them what they're doing. Tell me more about this project. What's happening? It's going back through, it's looking at the trades, the Variety, Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, and seeing who's done stuff. And if I know them, reaching out and saying, congratulations, that's great. And keeping it. And then it's keeping in contact with people I haven't kept in contact with for a while. How you doing? How you making out? Everything like that. So to me, there is no excuse not to be networking every day. And I like to look at it more as relationship building. It's a long game. There's a few things I would say to people listening. One is what I said earlier, treat networking like a job. Number two is bring value to every interaction. You have to bring value to the other person. And that means, number three, you have to come from a selfless place and not a selfish place. And so many people if you go on social media, if you just load your feed on Twitter and you do a little analysis on it, I guarantee you that anywhere from 80% to 85% of the posts are going to be me, and not people going at people saying you, or even just bringing value to people, sharing content, offering advice, you know what I mean? So
absolutely.
This is an absolute, there's no negotiation with myself on this fact. I have to be networking. I have to be building those relationships all the time. It matters. And so it's just, it's just a mindset. And I hear from people all the time. You said, you asked me about the cynicism part. One thing I get a lot of pushback on, and it's on them, it's not on me, is that they watch all my videos and they watch all this stuff and they say, you like, I don't have time to network, or you all this stuff, you're putting too much emphasis on it. And I'm like, look, that's on you. It's not on me. That's your mindset. I guarantee you, listen, I'm running a platform. I can tell you who the most successful people are and why they're successful. I'll tell you why the most successful people on Stage 32 over the last 10 years have the following in common. Profile photo that's updated, bio that's updated, media that's updated. And what I mean by media, if you're a screenwriter, your screenplays and you protected them. If you're an actor, your acting reels, your filmmaking reels, everything like that. And then here are the big ones after you have that. That's just taking care of your house, right? That's just taking care of your house. You should be doing that anyway. And if you're not, shame on you, really, right? But here's the other parts. They're visible, they're active, they're selfless, and they work it every day. Every single successful person on Stage 32 has those things in common. And by the way, even on other social media platforms that I see, the people that are successful, they're out there, they're visible, they're giving, they're selfless, they're bringing value.
That's exactly right. I was interviewing a guy a couple months ago on the podcast, and his name's Bill, and he owns a company called buildstrwealth.com. So like he owned 8-9 short-term rentals, Airbnbs, and he's pretty good at it. He had a system in place. And so he wanted to build this library where he would give away content, and every day, just like you said, just give. Every day he would get in the largest short-term rental Facebook groups out there. And there's some with like 100,000 people in it. And every morning from 5 to 6:30 in the morning, he would just go through all the posts and answer and give his best advice, feedback, and everything. And I mean, he launched this a year ago. His Facebook group already has 10,000 members. His private mastermind, which is $49 a month to his access, has like 4,000 people. So you can do the math there. And it's just like, he does no marketing, no advertising. All he does is just give value. And I appreciate you reiterating that. My next question is something that I've really wanted to ask you since I started following you, because I'm a fanatic on community. I've watched what Peloton did with a normal exercise bike, and they built this monster community around it. And I mean, it's like, I bought one for my wife, and I'm like, this is just a fucking exercise bike. But you're all motivated because you're in there with other people and you're high-fiving other people. And I'm just like, I want to know how RB, how did you build a 1 million person community of givers? Did it just happen organically, or was it really intentional for many, many years when you launched the platform?
It's a great question, and it's so funny that you bring up Peloton because again, this morning I had another meeting where I talk about Peloton all the time about how they've shifted their marketing more towards community. Everybody's talking about community now, right? This is the buzzword. We obviously were talking about it 10 years ago because that's what we were building. We knew we had nothing without the community, and we still know that, and that's why we're always. The focus from day one, I still have this paper that I sat down with before we launched, like 6 months before we launched, and it said community first. And how do we do it? How do we build it? Okay, from nothing. Okay, with no credibility, really. I mean, we're coming in with no credibility. I'm not, it's not like I'm Steven Spielberg and I'm starting this thing and people go, oh yeah, star power. I'm nobody, right? In everybody else's eyes. So here were the things. One. We said people have to stand in front of their own name. So you can't be Joe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on our platform. Why is that important? Because we're trying to structure this as this is a serious place to come in. If you're serious about forging a career in film, television, or digital content, either as a creative or a professional, you're in here to do business. You're not in here to, again, share pictures of your dog. Okay. Second thing, and credibility that people can Google you.
That's right.
And know, like, you can't hide. Like, you can't hide, right? So the second thing was that I was going to stand in front of it and you were going to get to meet me immediately. And that welcome message is pretty much the same. And you sign up today, you get the same welcome message that you pretty much got 10 years ago. It's almost exactly the same. The stats, maybe, stats have changed, obviously, but the whole idea is that welcome message is the idea behind it is it takes away your cynicism and your skepticism immediately. Because what I say, and I said this a little bit earlier, but what I say in the message is, I am just like you. I am scratching and clawing just like you every day. This business is about scratching and clawing, but this is a community for you that is going to be built by you. And that means that if the more you contribute and the more people you invite and the more people we have in here, the more opportunities that are going to arise, the more everything, a rising tide lifts all boats. So that message, the response to that message has been so overwhelmingly positive because, again, it takes your cynicism away. You're not just signing up and getting a blank screen. You're not just getting content shoved down your throat. You're getting, you're being asked to bring value and knowing that you're going to get value in return. And then I think the third thing is that we created an environment where we said clearly and upfront, it's not only in our terms and conditions, but we let people know immediately, no spamming. We have different ways you can promote yourself. We have a lounge, what we call a lounge, where you can promote a project. We have a thing every third weekend, an event every third weekend that we've had since the first Thursday that we launched, or the third Thursday of the month. The third weekend of the month, and we did it in the first month that we launched, which is called Introduce Yourself Weekend, which is where you have the opportunity to come in and talk about yourself and what you're looking to do and it's amazingly popular. So think about like sort of a global networking event, but online, that happens every third weekend of the month.
So cool.
So we basically said no spamming, no trolling, and we will warn you once. And the amazing thing is, now think about this. Again, load your Twitter feed right now, or we get off and look at how much abuse is on there. We have over 800,000 people we've had to kick off for abuse. I think it's 9 people in 10 years. And that's after they were warned once. Today, but why? Because if you're standing in front of your own name, you're less likely to do it. That's one. If you can't be anonymous, you're probably not going to be. Most of the people that are trolling people on Reddit boards and stuff, they're anonymous, right?
That's right.
So there's no accountability. With our site, there's accountability. And the amazing thing that's happened is that we've cultivated such a positive environment. And we try to keep everything aspirational, inspirational, motivational, that we've cultivated such an environment that if somebody does step out of line, the community handles it. The community basically says, you know what, man, there's no reason to do that. There's no reason to call this guy an asshole or anything like that. Like that's just, and you know what happens? That person comes back and goes, you know what, you're right. Sorry, I had a bad moment. And it's awesome to see. It's amazing to see. So that's how we've been able to do it. What ends up happening at that point is that people invite other people because they're like, this is a safe environment.
Yep. Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, I love that because I think a lot of people have a creative side to them. that they don't maybe pursue when they're young and, as they get older. And so it's just great to have like a community like that where people can, because I've seen some of the Facebook groups where, man, it's like 99% belittling, talking trash. I mean, it's horrible. The environment is absolutely terrible. And so it's really good to hear that, because there's a lot of people listening to this and they want to build community, whether it's fitness or they want to build their own tribe in something like some other business. And it's just the fundamentals that you covered are very, 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 very powerful, man. I really appreciate you sharing that. I have one more question, RB, and I just, because obviously you've built such a successful business and everything is awesome, but now I want to hear the other side. Like, is there one or two mistakes or missteps that you've had along the way that were like, that helped you, but like at the time it seemed like they were like end of the world? I just love to have you share, even if it's just one where you learn a really valuable lesson.
I think along the way, one of the lessons, this is a more broader kind of response, but hiring correctly, I think is a big, big deal. I think that a lot of people hire out of need and don't really, so sometimes they'll settle for a lesser skill set. We've had situations where, not recently, I have to say, because we've gotten better at it, we've learned the lesson. Yeah. But earlier on, definitely there was some, challenges with that. Another thing I would say is, you asked me about technology at the beginning. You do need to understand, like, if we built as best we could with what we had at the beginning. But because we scaled so quickly, we weren't really built on the code end to scale. So I would say, if you're looking to build something online, you're looking to build a community, always look, I have a rule, 5 steps ahead. Everything is 5 steps ahead. Think 5 steps ahead. So, you're just launching, and don't think to yourself like, I hope we're going to grow to, 100,000 people. Say we are going to grow to 100,000 people. And if we do, or when we do, are we going to be in a position to be able to scale? Is our infrastructure going to be okay? Are these people going to be able to grow with us? You need to be looking out. And I think that's one of the lessons. Even though I've run a bunch of businesses, it's very, very easy in the day-to-day to be down in the weeds. Right. And if you really are the visionary behind your company, you need at times to fly above the clouds. And, you need to be out there looking at everything, looking down, you know what I mean? Or beneath the clouds, I guess, so you could see. But you get my point. You need to be flying above it all. Yeah. And being able to see, okay, like, I need to move here. I need to move there. If this happens, I need this. And then come back down and say, are we built for that?
And that's so powerful. I had a mentor that said to me a long time ago, and it was great saying, he's just like, everybody can see, but not everybody has vision. And
that is so great and so true. One thing I like to add to the community question, just really quick, because if there are people listening to build communities, I think this is very, very important, regardless of whether you're looking to build an entertainment site, a health site, or whatever you were looking to do. Okay. At the end of the day, everybody, I've seen this with I've had many friends that have tried to launch things and sadly didn't take. Mm-hmm. They got so focused on the content and, the delivery and all this stuff, and not on the member, not on the member of the community. And the way that you put the focus, you ask, why are we so successful? We look at everybody as a human being. And that seems so simple, but it's not. We look at it like during this COVID period, for example, we've been big on mental health from the beginning. We've talked about our community's mental health and members' mental health from the beginning. How do we put them in a positive environment? How do we give them the education and the things they need? How do we hold their hand? How do we make sure we're not, we're providing value all the time? Because we know people are in isolation. Creatives create in isolation to begin with, which is difficult. We work alone and then we got to come back and collaborate. A lot of creatives are introverts, and a lot of people in general are introverts, right? So how do we help those people? How do we help everybody? And once you start focusing on the person, the people, the community, the messaging that you're there for your community, the content takes care of itself. Everybody knows they can deliver great content. Like anyone that's starting up something that thinks they have something of value, you got the content down pat, but do you have the messaging and do you have the relationship and the empathy which God, man, so many brands are missing this, the empathy to connect with your member base,
Right.
and so that's my advice there.
Man, I really appreciate that. I'm going to put the links in the show notes. My very final question is just, what's the best way to connect with you? What social media platform are you most active on?
Sure.
And where can people connect with what you're putting out?
Absolutely. So obviously, if you're on Stage 32, you'll get my welcome message. That is automated, but every other response you see on the platform is me talking. So you'll get that if you're in entertainment. So that's just stage32.com/RB. Broad-based social media, I'm very active on Instagram and Twitter. And my handle on there is RB, my initials, walks into a bar. RB walks into a bar. And I hope you guys not only will follow me, I hope I brought you value enough today that you'll follow me, but I hope you'll just go look, especially at my Instagram feed, to look at how much content I put out. Because again, I think it speaks to what we've talked to on the show here and what we were talking to before we came on air, which is my whole goal. Everybody has a brand. We didn't touch on this, but really, really quickly, everybody has a brand publicly, and you want to, if you're a leader, you're a business owner, you want to make sure that your forward-facing brand on social media is aligned with your values and the values of your company. I like to say, I know I said earlier that the brand of Stage 32 is inspiration, aspiration, motivation, but that's my brand as well. And if you go look at my Instagram feed, you will see that everything I post is in that vein. It's teaching, it's helping, it's lessons I've learned along the way. It's trying to inspire people. It's trying to motivate people and trying to help entrepreneurs and creatives aspire, to get to that next level and to not quit, and to listen to the right voices too, man. That's one of the lessons maybe I can give part one more thing.
Yes, please, please.
Right now, there's a lot of people on broad-based social media listening to voices who are unqualified to give you advice. So if you are an entrepreneur and you're getting beat up or people telling your idea is terrible, if you bring it to the masses, I would suggest not bringing it to the masses. I would suggest bringing it to a curated group of people that you respect and you like, and that will give you advice that is meaningful and helpful and have done it. I don't seek out advice from people. I seek out advice from people that are smarter than me, that have done more than me, and I want their opinions. I don't want to go on Twitter and focus group an idea, you know what I mean? Because you're going to get Joe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 calling you an idiot. And, and you don't want to be beaten down. There's too much negativity in the world right now. So surround yourself with positive people, cut out the negativity. I know quite a few people that have deleted their broad-based apps and stuff like that and are only focusing on niche communities. Like even I know a bunch of them that have gone on to just Clubhouse and just stay in certain rooms because they know those rooms are going to be positive and those rooms. And if I'm going to expend my time and put myself in an environment, better be, I want it to be a positive environment. So that's just one more piece of advice. I know it's more general, but I think it's really, really important in this day and age.
Yeah, man, RB, you slapped everybody with a lot of wisdom today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Like there's just so many nuggets that you gave in your story and your journey and just everything that you've built and like the lessons learned. And, it's crazy because I interview a lot of people and very few teach in a way like, how when you learn from somebody, but that like the way they're teaching, they can only teach that way when they've like really been through it and they do it day in and day out, like rather than somebody that hit success in 20 years ago and now they're just like overlooking everything. They're not still in the day to day. And it's just like they teach, but they're so far removed from what they had to do to get there that they just teach differently. So I appreciate your perspective. And man, I wish you all the success in the world with Stage 32 and your other companies and what you're building. I just want to thank you for just pouring into the community today, man. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. A pleasure to be here. And I appreciate you having me. And I mean, I think what you're doing with the podcast is amazing. And
thank you.
If you're listening to this and you're not a subscriber, I mean, what the hell are you doing?
I appreciate that. Thank you. I won't say it myself at the very end on the outro.
Yeah, no, but it's true. That's the thing. Look, here's a very last quick piece. If people bring you value, bring value back. Tell them thank you. Even saying thank you to somebody, giving them, as ridiculous as this culture is with social media, that a follow actually means something. A follow doesn't mean something in the grand sense of like, oh, you know, but it means something to somebody. If you bring them value, that's a symbol of, you know, thank you. And a bigger symbol is actually saying it to that person, posting to them, saying, thank you for the value you brought me. Thank you for everything you're doing for us. Thank you for, you know, helping the community. So once again, I'll reiterate, subscribe.
Awesome. Thanks for your time today, RV. Appreciate it.
Thank you.